Welcome back. It's still VOP this morning on VOP TV. Nigeria, with 774 local government areas and some blessed with natural resources, it's appalling to note that some governors from the 36 states are unable to effectively manage their finances despite federal allocations. State and local governments should be instruments of development aimed at bringing government closer to the people, so as to ensure their greater and equitable participation in the process of governance. However, they have become an avenue for obtaining more allocations from the federal government coffers, as well as political representations at the National Assembly. Evidently, there is a great deal of variation across states in their capacity for governance, with a new generation of state governors emerging and are beginning to address public sector's reform through civil service modernization and good infrastructure. There have been calls to reduce some state to local government areas or merge with other states. But with this, enable states and local government be responsive to the aspiration of the people at grassroots, so as to reduce further agitation and ensure political stability and development. And joining us to look into this topic this morning is Mr. Chukuma Okoro, who is a journalist and a public affairs analyst. Okay, now the thing is, a lot of people have been saying, or have been actually clamoring that instead of having 36 states, including FCT, now making it 37 states in Nigeria, and most of the states are not able to generate their fund, given the fact that FAC have increased what the allocation they give to both federal, state, and local government areas, to 10 point something trillion naira thereabout for this year. And I'm talking about this February's allocation. And a lot of people are saying that during the time of regional government, some states do well to get some things for themselves until they say, bring everything you have for the federal government to give you from it. Now, are you also championing this particular thought? Do you have it as also at the back of your mind that we need to, reduce some states to local governments, or even go ahead as merging some states? What is your take on this? Okay, we told you earlier that it can be part of today's program by just going straight down to our YouTube channels, VOP TV Live, and other streaming platforms at VOP TV. And on Monday, we told you about some gifts that you can get from us. Yeah, courtesy of Viva Detergent. We told you that we'll have some questions that we need to ask you. And when you answer those questions correctly, you will be getting a gift. I don't know if you get me now. Yes, those gifts are actually available. So we ask you these questions and you go straight down, answer them on any of the social media platforms that we just read out to you. Then if you're correct, if your answers are correct, we'll have some gifts for you. I don't know if Mr. Chukuma Okoro is joining us.
Are you asking Chukuma to answer the question?
No, I'm telling my people.
Okay, well, let's...
I don't think if he's joining us.
Chukuma Okoro, Mr. Chukuma Okoro, good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation. Let's establish communication with you.
Yes, good morning, Mo.
All right,
good
great,
morning, David,
great.
Every other person in the studio. Good morning, listeners.
All right, go ahead and ask the question.
Okay, now, Mr. Chukuma, please, the question I want to ask you this morning is, do you share this idea or the thought, let me put it this way, do you share this thought where some people are calling for local government, for states to be reduced to local government, or, merge some states or merging of some states? What's your take on that, please?
Yes, you had already asked the question, and now later told me that you were going to ask me some questions if I win.
Not you. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Not to you. No, I'm talking about our fans.
I get you. I'm just making a joke of it.
Okay.
I'm just making a joke of it, and I hope that this particular one you asked, if I answer it correctly, that
I'll get you a gift. Yeah, special one from me. Yeah.
Yes, because I will. Yes, to serious business now. I think this call for some states to be collapsed and merged into, in fact, to be collapsed and merged. It's been long in the public space. Personally, I've written articles. I have canvassed the idea in so many fora that look, the present system of 36 states is very, in the first place, is very expensive. It is unproductive. It is destructive. It doesn't serve the aim for which it was designed in the very first place. You know, so the current call now for us to go back to regionalism is the appropriate thing to do, if you ask me. Because if you go back in history, if you go back in our history, you will discover that when we had 3 regions and operated more like a truly federal regionalism, we saw states, we saw the regions taking care of almost everything apart from the currency, foreign affairs, and the military. Every other thing revolved around the regions themselves. You know, regions could exploit the resources within their zone and now make contributions to the center, which is the true definition of fiscal federalism. Unfortunately, what we practice now is unitary federalism, where you have a central government seated somewhere, a Leviathan in Abuja, and it takes up everything. When it takes up everything from the regions, it now decides what to give you back. Based on what? Based on landmass or based on other macroeconomic policies, which is the cause of the problem of agitations, marginalization, and everything that we see today. But unfortunately, it is structural. It is structural because if you look at the states now and the local governments, the Constitution actually makes the local governments an appendage of the states. When it says that we have the federal, the state, and the local government, and turns around to ask the state governments to make laws for the good governance of local government, what does that tell you? Some lawyers have actually argued that we have 2 tiers of government, the federal and the state, that local governments are not, and is not a tier of government. And if you look at what happened between Obasanjo and the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he was the governor of Lagos State and created some more local governments. You know, you recall what panned out, where Obasanjo had to seize the funds of Lagos State governments, you know, for upwards 3 years until the Supreme Court ruled and now asked Ahmed Tinubu to rename those local government LCDs. Okay. So yes, what we need to do is go back to regionalism. Some of the states now, as we have them, cannot, under the present circumstances, take care of themselves. They cannot generate enough money to even pay salaries. So everybody relies on what? The center. What do they get from the center? The oil money, the VAT money, the custom money, and other things.
Now, Mr. Chukuma, I'd like to stay with you on this. It's interesting to note that you've just said, yes, you agree that some states should be merged. Interesting as well, I think about yesterday or the day before, it was alleged that the present FCT minister, I'm talking about Mr. Nyesom Wike, is also asking for security votes. At this point, who is worthy to even have a security vote? Now, the reason why I mentioned Nyesom Wike is playing it back to the general elections, where INEC needed to find a way to explain to Nigerians if Abuja was a state as well, that is a yardstick for who would become the president of this nation. Now, that's another conversation anyways. But my question is, what state or which state should be worthy of staying alone? And of course, which state should be merged? Going through the FAC allocation that was released yesterday, some states still go as little or as much, I don't want to call it little, as much as 7.1 billion naira. Now I'm talking about Gombe State. Some of these states have state governors, and nothing seems to be happening in terms of infrastructure, in terms of development and all. In your opinion, which state should be a standalone state, and then which state should be merged together with another?
I think let's be very clear on this. It will be physically impossible to say this state stand alone or this state merge with the other one. Revenue or some discover that only Kano, Lagos and River states can foot their bills. without federal government assistance. So let us use the word reverse to regionalism. Let's go back to regionalism. Let us have the Southwest as we used to have it. Let us have the Southeast, the North as we used to have it. Or at worst, we also already have a system that we call the 6 geopolitical zones. So if we have 5 states of the Southeast and we have Southeast as a geopolitical zone, that takes care of the Southeast as a region, as it were before. We have the Southwest, Lagos, Oyo, Ibadan, Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti states should form one zone. You have the North Central, the 6 states of the North Central should form one state, one region. I think what is confusing us here is the word state, region, and zone. But in actual fact, what we mean is that we should reverse to what we operated before. If we can't have the Midwest as we had it, fine, let it even stay with the West, no problem. That is the present Edo and Delta states. Let them stay with the West, no problem. Because we are looking at the geo-economic benefits of the whole system. If you look at it now, like you mentioned Gombe State. Gombe State, how much did Gombe State say? You said 7.1 billion.
Yes.
Gombe State cannot, without, and the present street system cannot sustain itself except the federal government gives it money. But if you go to Gombe State, there are mineral deposits, there's agriculture, there is every resource that it needs to develop, exploit, generate revenue, and run itself. And by the time the states or the regions become independent, they will definitely cut their codes according to their size.
All right then.
Okay.
Talking about, sorry to interrupt you there, Chikuma. Talking about states being able to generate funds, let's look at the FAC allocation for the past month. Let's put that up on the screen and see what different states got. And, we'll talk more in this regard. Can we have that on the screen, please? Now, we do know that, like you rightly mentioned, Gombe State being one state. You also did say something about Delta State staying with the West. But, one of the things that we have fought that have created a problem in Nigeria is the fact that there is a dependency on oil production. And the East would want to embrace Delta and say, okay, they are part of us. We are oil producing. The West will say, oh, okay, we speak similar language, so let Delta stay with us. All right, that's the graph there. Okay, I think I need to move a little bit to see this one. So we have Nasarawa State having the most in percentage now. Nasarawa State is having 185.27% of FAC allocation since subsidy removal, followed by Enugu. Enugu, speaking for Enugu, one would say it's a state on the rocks, really. There's hardly anything infrastructure or natural resource there. But, I don't know if you will go with me on this one. I would want to understand Enugu receiving this. Well, they have coal. But aside from coal, and what else? What else can we say that Enugu has? Anambra, on the other hand, is next. That's third in line with 74.13%. Ogun is 66.30%, followed by Ebonyi, 53.56%. Kogi, Bauchi, Plateau, Niger, and Sokoto. Sokoto having 50.4%, 40%. All right. This chart. Well, there's another chart I have that shows the exact amount that states got. Let me see if I can quickly get to this one as we talk. Okay, thank you very much, Fina. All right, this was the chart I hoped we'll have on the screen. Now, according to this chart, the breakdown here, Abia has 8.3 billion naira. Adamawa is 8.4 billion naira. Akwa Ibom, 26.6 billion naira. Anambra, 10.1 billion naira. Bauchi, 8.3 billion. Bayelsa, 22.8 billion. Benue, 9.7 billion. Borno, 10.5 billion. Cross River, 6.6 billion. Delta, 38.1 billion. Okay, Delta is kind of, on the high side, probably because they produce oil, which is a major revenue generator for Nigeria.
Yeah.
Ebonyi, 7.3 billion. Edo, 10.2 billion. Ekiti, 6.9 billion. Enugu, 8.5. Gombe, 7.1. Imo, we're talking in billions now, so yeah.
Billions.
Imo, 9.5. Jigawa, 9.8. Kaduna, 7.3. Kano, 13.6. Katsina, Kano, 13.6. Kano. Katsina, 9.8. Kebbi, 8.8. Kogi, 7.4. Kwara, 7.3. Lagos, 23.6. We know the port and other things. That's a revenue generator. The airport as well. Where did I stop? Lagos?
Lagos,
Yes, Lagos. Nasarawa, 7.7. Niger, 8.5. Ogun, 7.1. Ondo, 10.3. Osun, 7.8. Oyo, 10.5. Plateau, 7.8. Rivers, 28.4. Sokoto, 8.4. Taraba, 8.1. Yobe, 7.9. And Zamfara, 7.9. All right? These, in billions now, billions. These are the amounts that some of these states have gotten. Now, should we have a situation whereby the federal government or agencies of the federal government under the purview of the federal go into some of these states and help them make good use of, help them to mine or extract the resources and use them and maybe give back to the state? Would that in any way help the state in generating more revenue if government puts its hand, if the center now delves its hands into the extraction or mining of the resources in states and giving back? Because what we see here is focus on oil, while oil is taken from some states and then shared around, while we have foreigners coming into the country using insecurity to mine what belongs to certain people in certain parts of the country, and the people themselves are not even benefiting from these things. Instead, they are having to run and hide in their own fatherland. Chukuma, please.
Moses, you see, yes, we seem to be in a box. Let me start from the issues that you raised. The first one is, if we say we should go back to regionalism now, and I say that even if the Delta state stays with the West, that it is not a problem. Yes, why I say that is because, okay, let's reverse it. Assuming we now say let's practice true fiscal federalism, and the federal government takes up the lead on resource control and say, okay, all the states, any mineral resource in your state, you just have to exploit, make money. When you make the 100%, keep 70 and give us 30%. Will the Southeast say, no, Delta State, when you make the money, you give it to us in the Southeast? They're not going to say that. So Delta State will still make the oil money and put it in the federal purse. So it's immaterial whether Delta, as it is in the West or in the East. Why you even got to that issue? Because at a point, the present Edo Delta was part of what we knew as what was called the Midwest, which was carved out of part of the West and part of the East. So everything goes back again to the issue of resource control. And that is what has the current climate of agitation. It is this issue of, please, you cannot control your resource. That is the problem. And I like the idea that you pointed out that even in the midst of this, if you go up north, you see some foreigners, Chinese in particular, Lebanese, Vietnamese, they come in under the guise of insecurity and they're exploiting resources that belong to states. The states are not allowed to exploit these resources. But these foreigners come here, exploit them, and take them away under the watch of the federal government, and nothing comes to us. The tough talking Dele Alake that was made minister of solid minerals. Yes, solid minerals. Where is he? What have we heard in the past how many months after all those tough talking, after all those braggadocio? How much has the solid minerals ministry, how much has it contributed to the economy? Everything is still, we are still reliant on the oil, on the VAT and the federal taxes. You know, so we need to rejig the whole structure, the entire structure. And if you look at a state like Akwa Ibom State that got 28 billion, or Wazir Rivers, all the oil producing states got in the neighborhood of 20s. Why? Because of the 13% derivation, you know, from the oil revenue. They're entitled to 13% derivation from the oil revenue. That is why you can see a state like Delta, Akwa Ibom, even Abia, you know, Rivers, so much money, you know, because they're entitled to 13%. And let's not address the issue of, since these monies, how much has been shared, how much trillion has been shared, what has the governors been able to do with this? That is the issue. What are the governors doing? A governor, as much as pays salaries and constructs roads, he goes on CNN to sing his praises. Is that what governance is all about? Governance is beyond that. How about healthcare? How about education? How about even in other infrastructure? The federal government has said, Buhari before he left said, okay, states, you can now build your rail lines. You can build your power stations in electricity. You can build your prisons. For 1 year now, which state, apart from Lagos, or even the blue line that Lagos did, was even in the offing. It was in the pipeline before this thing was, when that thing was dematerialized to the concurrent legislative list. Which of the states has a master plan to say, okay, I'm going to build rail lines to cover my state? None. The only thing they do is dip hand into the FAC and collect security allowance. Some collect as much as 927 million naira for a month. And in the midst of this, insecurity spikes every other day. Look at what is going on in Kaduna. Look at what's going on in Zamfara, Sokoto, Borno, every part of the state. Yet, at every turn, they increase their security votes. So if Wilson Wike, FCT minister, asks for security vote, what is wrong in that? After all, others are taking.
All right.
He has a territory too. The FCT is territory.
Okay, now it's interesting that you mentioned Akwa Ibom, and something just jumped right at me when you mentioned Akwa Ibom. You know, this is stemming from the fact that the presidency is saying, look, hold your governors accountable because we've given money out. We've given monies out, so hold them accountable. Some states are beginning to give out palliatives, provide food. Lagos State started the food market thing on Sunday, and Akwa Ibom State is towing that line. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this one because I found some of it ridiculous, but let me keep my view aside now. Let's get your thoughts on it. Now, Akwa Ibom State, you know, in towing the line, decided to get food and then have pay 30% of it and have the people pay 70% of whatever they get. Meanwhile, those providing the food will get a 5% service charge of the monies, and they will get vouchers. Of course, I think Lagos, they used vouchers as well to purchase food. So vouchers will be given when people bring their cash, they get vouchers. Now, where I have a problem grasping, or what I have a problem grasping, is the fact that these vouchers they are special paper, special material, and the vouchers will be printed by the Printing and Minting Company of Nigeria. Mint are the ones to print the vouchers, which suggests that the vouchers will be imported. I mean, the paper to make the vouchers will be brought in from foreign countries, which suggests to me that the vouchers itself might be more expensive than the food the people will be eating. What's your thought on this one, please?
You see, Moses, beyond the voucher issue, I think the whole idea of buying food to give out to people, it's very funny. It's laughable. It gives our most of the governors away at people who are bereft of ideas. The first question you will ask is that where do they buy this food from? Is it not from Nigeria? Do they buy it from US or Canada or from any other part of the world? These foods are sourced locally. And if you are sourcing them locally, when you go to buy and they look at you, Governor Sanwo-Olu, welcome, sir. Because you are governor, I'm going to sell one mudu of gari to you at 800 naira instead of one.
No, what the
So who pays the difference?
No, the understanding is that, okay, let me see if I can break this down. If I'm a seller, if I have gari, rice and beans in my store, I have bought it and I'm selling for 10,000 naira, all right, for a bag, for the, and then I go to the government and say, look, I have these things. I want to sell in the markets that you have provided. Government will say, okay, they register me down. I go to the markets. People bring the vouchers. They come to buy. I sell for 70,000 naira. All right, and then when I go back to government, I present the 70,000 naira voucher, and government gives me the extra on top of it, bringing my money back to what, 10,000 or what? 100. 100. Yes, 100. Bringing my money back to 100,000 naira. So. And then they give me 5% service charge from it, which, of course, my interest is already in what I went to sell.
Moses, let me save your time. I understand all the explanations they are trying to make. What I'm saying is that this is subsidy. Is it not subsidy?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
That is subsidy. The Lagos state government and Akwa Ibom state government are trying to subsidize food.
Yes.
That is what happens in the oil industry. That is what happens in fuel. You import fuel at 1,000 naira. You sell at 700. Government pays you the extra 300.
Yes.
That is subsidy. And the question is, now we are trying to put ourselves inside the same box that we are trying to come out from in oil. If we had the refineries to refine our own crude and push into our own local market, will we have the need to have subsidized oil to that level? The simple answer is no. Now, my question is, this food that you are going to K2 market to buy, where is it not a Nigerian product that you are trying to subsidize? And the question is, for how long are you going to do this? What I expect the government to do, because the states are hamstrung because they don't do fiscal policies, they don't do macroeconomic policies. The onus is on the federal government to do whatever it can. It can even use the state governments to do what? To go into massive food production. They should have seen this thing in the coming. They have strategists in government. They have people, they have economists who forecast these things. I'm surprised they didn't see this thing coming. So they should have upfront planned ahead. Even if you have to import food and import grains, fine. So for this subsidy, how long is it going? Okay, in the interim, for how long will they sustain this subsidy? Or what are the plans to ensure that in the next, that there will be massive food production like we had during the Operation Feed the Nation? I was a kid then. I used to go with my mother to one point to collect cassava stems to plant in our garden. Those stems were provided by Obasanjo in Operation Feed the Nation. Do we have a current plan for that, so that by next year there will be food surplus? There will be surplus food in the country. Do we have that? And you talk about printing vouchers. It's like using 1 billion naira to print 1 billion naira. That's what they were doing in ways and means. You don't have enough money, and you are using the ones you have to print more money. Instead of, see, these things should be looked at holistically. Like I said, some of our governors I don't get it. When the issue of fuel subsidy came up, they started giving people rice and grains. And the question I asked them, how are we supposed to convert grains into fuel? Because the issue at stake was fuel. What is the government doing currently to control inflation? The inflation is
All right,
now is even
Chukuma,
running.
we are pressed for time, unfortunately. I would like you to
Yes.
conclude your thoughts in about a minute, so we can wrap up this conversation.
Moses, these are my thoughts. Let us go back to regionalism.
Regionalism.
Let us go back to regionalism. If you go back in history, in the First Republic, all the regions were doing well. Awolowo, in the 1951, Awolowo built the first TV station. Look at the Cocoa House. Look at UI. Look at Unilag. In the East here, they built University of Nigeria. In the North, the same thing. So let us collapse the system and go back to regional government. Secondly, the presidential system of government is very, very expensive. We cannot afford it. Let us go back to the parliamentary system of government. The third one is, look, I keep saying it. Any nation that cannot feed its, even as a man, as a family, Moses, before you talk of building a duplex, before you talk of building a 4-story building, the basic thing for you to do is to feed your family. There must be 3 square meals on the table every day. And that is what is happening. Nigeria should be able to feed itself first. And how do we do that? Go back to agriculture. We'll feed ourselves, we can now export and make more money. And for the people, Nigerians, you have seen how much your state governors received. Hold them to account. Let them account for how much. And for people in the local government, when these things get to the state, in the JAC, joint allocation, joint something committee between the states and the local government, is called JAC. You collect, the federal government gives you 150 million naira. The governor gives you 20 million naira to go and pay salaries and gives you 1 million naira for security vote. What happens to the 130 million naira?
All right,
People hold their local government chairman and your state governors to account. The way you hold the federal government to account about inflation and other macroeconomic policy.
Maybe that way they'll provide answers. Well, big thanks to you, Mr. Chukuma Okoro, a journalist and a public affairs commentator, for coming on the program. We'll have to let you go now. We appreciate you for your time and your thoughts. We always appreciate you. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Moses. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be looking at it's World Happy Day. Yeah, happy day today. It's the world is celebrating International Day of Happiness. We'll talk about this one when we come. Where does Nigeria stand on the list of nations with the most happy people? Are we still there? Are we still among the top 5? But I think we're still among the top 10. Why? Why are Nigerians happy regardless of the things going on in the country? Well, some countries are at war. Some countries have money, but they still they feel we have more suicides and all of that happening in those countries. Well, we'll talk about this one when we come back.